This man was reincarnated into another world. However, he ended up with the most useless skill. He even attracted the attention of the king. The king wanted to see for himself what was going on, but he had no idea until he saw it. And the moment he did, he was shocked. If he remembered correctly, this used to be a deserted, rundown village, but now it had grown into the size of a fortress city. It had sturdy gates and even a moat. Most importantly, there were hundreds of steel ballistae mounted on the walls. At first, the king and the chancellor didn't think much of it. It's just a ballista, after all. There were plenty of those in the capital. Their power and range were limited, and they were cumbersome to operate. Seeing this, Jack didn't waste time talking. He immediately had his men demonstrate. 2 iron bolts shot out one after another. The distant forest exploded into clouds of dust. The booming sound made the ground tremble. The king and the chancellor were both stunned. This was completely different from what they expected. Not only could it fire twice in a row, but its power and range were astonishing. In this world where magic reigns supreme, even top-tier mages might not achieve such force, especially the outer hexagonal star-shaped wall design, which was remarkably clever. No matter which direction the enemy attacked from, they would be hit from at least 2 sides. Modern thinking was simply a dimensionality reduction strike on another world. However, the king and chancellor didn't believe Jack designed and built all this. First, the craftsmanship and shape of the walls were extremely unusual, and a city of this scale should take at least several years to build, but Jack claimed he finished it in just a few days. That sounded completely absurd, and any further explanation would be pointless, so he decided it was better to let them see it with their own eyes. Jack then led everyone toward the open area by the lake. Along the way, villagers stopped and greeted him with smiles. Jack responded to each of them gently. He even made plans to have barbecue with them next time. The chancellor was stunned to see a noble interacting equally with commoners. In other territories, nobles always acted superior. They rarely even spoke to commoners, let alone treated them as equals. But the real surprise was yet to come. He never expected merfolk to be living in the lake. They were a mythical race from ancient legends. Their habitats were always hidden, and they never showed themselves to humans. Seeing even one was considered huge news. Yet here was an entire tribe living openly without fear. The king and chancellor were completely dumbfounded, but Jack was already used to it. Right now, he only wanted to demonstrate his abilities. First, he had the old butler activate earth magic. A thick wall of earth rose instantly from the ground. Then it was Jack's production type magic. In just a few seconds, the rough earth wall turned into an indestructible concrete wall. The king and chancellor were stunned once again. It was unbelievable, but the surprises didn't end there. The merfolk chief was eager to engage in cultural exchange. He even offered a piece of purple ore as a gift. The chancellor completely lost his composure. This was an extremely rare mythical metal. Weapons made from it would be worth a fortune. The king was also astonished, but seeing the chancellor's greedy reaction, he solemnly stated that this wasn't about money at all. It was clearly a priceless treasure. Jack decided to give it a try. To his surprise, he really refined it into a beautiful longsword. The king couldn't pretend he didn't see that. Only now did he realize Jack's production magic could forge weapons. This would be incredibly valuable for the entire kingdom. Jack was willing to help, but he had one condition. He didn't want to be reassigned. He didn't want to become some high-ranking official in the capital. He just wanted a carefree life in this village. Since that was the case, the king decided not to force him. After that, the group planned to visit the newly discovered dungeon. But just then, an urgent report came from the watchtower. A dragon was approaching. Jack immediately ordered the villagers to prepare for battle. But by then, the dragon had already flown overhead.